Hey, I'm Rusty.
And I'm Heather.
And we're the Bryants, and this is the Redeemed Marriage Podcast.
We are here to encourage healthy marriages, strengthen wounded marriages, and begin the process of restoration to broken marriages.
We aren't licensed counselors, but we are a redeemed couple that loves the Lord and wants to help you journey through this messy, challenging, and fun part of life called marriage. Hey guys, welcome back to the Redeemed Marriage Podcast, and this is Rusty and Heather Bryant with you. We are excited about being back, and this is going to wrap up.
Yes.
Although you had no idea today that this was the last one.
Why you gotta throw me under the bus like that?
Yeah, this was funny. We were talking about this today, and I said, hey, we need to...
Today as in 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, well, you shouldn't give yourself away
bad.
The
whole point was I'd been thinking about the wrong episode all day long.
Yeah, I said, hey, we're going to do the empty nester tonight, and she said, no, we're not. We're talking about teenagers. I was like... we did that last week. No, we didn't. No, we didn't. Yeah. So I actually pulled it up on Apple Podcasts and hit play, and I let you listen to the whole intro. She's like,
we did do that. I blocked it out.
A lot of people block out the teenage years, so we just blocked out the whole.
I can't believe we're already to empty nesters. I did. Like I've been doing some mindless work up at the school, and just kind of. And I was thinking, I thought all morning about. I even prayed for God to give us wisdom as we spoke on such a tough topic.
Maybe we should talk about it again. I would ask you if we covered everything we needed to, but you have no idea what we covered last week.
I told you I don't go back and listen to them.
Well, here we go.
I know. I have a couple of times. I don't know. It's just weird. What is really weird, and you're going to say that this is odd, is sometimes I don't remember saying. Like, I'll hear myself say it and go, God, I mean, that was straight from the Holy Spirit.
Yeah, I do that a lot, too.
Yeah.
Yep. Because sometimes we get through and I'm like, man, I don't know if anybody's going to get anything out of that. And then I'll listen back and I'm like, wow, God was...
He was right there.
He
always is. He always is.
Well...
Empty nesters.
Better show up tonight, right? That's funny. Okay, before we get started, we have not said this in a long time on our episode, so I would love to challenge anyone out there, or not challenge, just make a request if you can, to hit the like button. Make sure that you're actually following us on whatever platform you listen to, and then hit that like button and leave a review if you get a chance, because that really does help us. It helps us know what people are thinking, but it also helps to get our podcast in front of more people and hopefully help more marriages. So, and hey, can I just give a shout out to Nigeria? Man, I mean, one day this past week, our downloads, just pulled up our stats, and our downloads had gone way up, and I looked, and there were quite a few downloads from, like, a lot from Nigeria.
A lot of them.
So it was really cool.
Nigeria.
So yeah, if you're listening from Nigeria, we love you.
We're glad you're here.
Yes, absolutely. All right, we're going to talk today, wrap up our seasons of marriage, and we're going to talk about the empty nest. Now, I'm going to say that we are not experts on this particular season of marriage. Not that we were experts on any of them, but at least we had some history.
That's right.
Something to go by.
We're the least experts on this one.
Yeah, because we are not there yet, but we're getting close. And I think that we're probably really good to be able to talk about this just because it's on our minds and we're preparing ourselves for it. So I know that you weren't really thinking about this at all today. So here's what I think we should do today. I would like for us to just have a little, because we can't really give a lot of advice. It's not, I mean, we're not in a position to give advice. So what I would like to do is, there's a lot of people out there that are in our shoes that will be getting close to this. So let's talk through some of the things that we are scared about, and then some of the things that we're most looking forward to.
Yeah.
So
let's start with what we're excited about.
Okay.
You were going to do it the other way,
No,
weren't you?
not necessarily. But yeah, it's kind of like good news, bad news.
Yeah.
We're gonna do what we're excited about.
Well, let's do a good news and then a bad news.
Okay.
And get back and forth. That'll be fun.
Whatever.
Well, I'm excited about it just being us, and we get to decide what we want to do, and we don't have to worry about anybody else's schedule in our night.
Yeah.
You know, like we can say, hey, tonight, let's go out to eat.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't have to say, are you going to be here? Do you need,
right.
Like,
do you have practice? Do you need a ride somewhere?
Sure.
What game are we going to tonight?
What do you want for dinner?
Mm-hmm. What do you want for dinner? What are you watching tonight?
Exactly. Like we can just we can go back to, let's watch a show that we want to watch
mm-hmm.
and be excited about that
mm-hmm.
together.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't mean that and I can't stop and explain this on every single one, but it doesn't mean that those things are bad right now. But I just think that you'll have control of the remote control again.
Yeah. We don't have to worry about Luke sitting there every commercial, changing the channel, flipping through. I mean, YouTube TV has 70, 80 channels. He flips through every single one of them during every commercial break. Yeah.
So I think that'll be fun. Just like you and me, just having to worry. I'm going to summarize it. Just having to worry about our schedule. Mm-hmm. Just the two of us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm excited about that.
That will add some simplicity to life for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Which we've already talked about the chaos that goes along with having having kids and stuff.
Which is probably why I'm looking forward to it, because it's chaos. So
I think a lot of times people get scared. I'm not necessarily scared about this, but I do sometimes kind of wonder, we're obviously when we've got 2 more years. One kid is in college, for those of y'all who don't know. One kid's in college and one is 2 years away from graduation. So yes, that's the start of the empty nesting, but they're still around. They're still on our payroll.
And see, that's what, the payroll, But the other part of it, when they're in college, they still come home during Christmas and Thanksgiving and summer and all that. So it's kind of like the best of both worlds. You get a little bit of...
You're still really... we're still busy, and especially with ours, we've got a kid that's actually playing college athletics, and so we're traveling all the time, even with him, being away. But I do think that a lot of people get into the empty nest once they really are gone, and they're kind of bored because they don't know what to do with their time. Now, we're not retiring or anything, we're still...
Oh, Lord.
We're not old. We're not old. But we still we still have a lot that we're doing. But I do think that, it's a little scary to think we've gone through all of these years, 20 years of just like kind of chaos. And then it's like, well, are we going to be bored now? And what are we going to do with all of our extra time?
Right.
And our personalities are not like that. I mean, for one, we're even thinking ahead to this ministry and what God is doing through our marriage ministry, and how can we do more with that and expand that and travel and speak and, things like that. So, we're excited about that. But I do think that a lot of people, they get into this stage and they're like, well, now what are we going to do? Because so much of their life has been surrounded by just the children and based on what they're doing. So the way that we're doing this right now is you're doing all the good things. I'm doing all the scary things.
Okay, well, I'll go to a scary thing. I worry about, and I shouldn't say worry. And to me, this is like empty nest as in retirement. That's kind of where my brain's going, because even though we're going to have 2 out of the house in 2 more years, they're still going to be coming and going and coming and going. So one of my fears is what our family will look like. That may be too far in advance for you.
Because some people might. I do think that people consider an empty nest is I mean, maybe there's different opinions on what an empty nest is. Maybe some people say, yeah, it's when you send them off to college. Yeah. But to me, that's not. I mean, that's sort of the in between stage.
Right? Yeah. The best of both worlds again.
Yeah, and I mean, heck, you don't know. A lot of these people, they think they're empty nesters when their kids go off to college, but then they come home.
That's right.
After
that's
college,
right.
so
that's
you just don't really know the different dynamics.
Yeah. And it could be, like our preacher Sunday said, 2 off the payroll. It could be when, and he still has 1 that's on the payroll. But it could be that when it's just literally just the 2 of you, when they're on their own, and so that's kind of where my mind goes to when they are on their own, supporting themselves. And it's just us. And so one of my fears is what our family's going to look like. Will our boys marry young ladies that enjoy being with us? And so our family just grows. Or because we have boys, the stupid saying that a girl's a girl. I mean, a daughter's a daughter for the rest of her life, but a son's a son until he gets a wife. That makes me want to vomit on this microphone. Because if that is true, then we really are. It's just going to be us, And so I can go down I just dug myself a pit sitting right here and jumped in it.
Well, I'm gonna go back to some things that are something that I'm excited about. And you talked about the schedule. And I guess this is sort of a part of the schedule too, but it really is just, we'll have time to do things that I hate to even say it this way because I don't mean it, but we don't feel obligated for our children to be a part of. So, like vacations and things like that, and they'll still be a part of that, and we'll have times when they'll come back and do things. But I think that we'll feel a lot more freedom to say, me and you are going to do something, just us, and we don't have to feel guilty because we're taking them. Because we've even talked about that, like for this summer. I mean, I'm a little more comfortable saying me and you need to go into it, but you're still in that mode of we got to soak up as much time with them as we can. Right. And I get that.
Sure.
But we're also a marriage ministry and we're trying to tell people that they need to go do stuff on their own. So we should do that.
It's important to do things.
It is. But yeah, just thinking ahead of that's going to be fun. Just the traveling, just the 2 of us whenever we want to, if we want to.
Oh, and cheaper.
Oh,
when you think about taking 4 people, and I get it. There's people listening to us that have 6 kids. I get it.
Yeah.
But for us, there's a lot of things we can't do because we can't afford to fly 4 people somewhere, But if it's just 2 of us, meals and plane tickets and all that.
Yep.
Just the 2 of you, it's a lot easier to do than with 4 or 6 or 15.
I think we get a little taste of it because our kids are older. Even like tonight, both of our boys, one of them's helping at something at the church, working at something at the church. The other one has gone for the night, for at least a while. And there is this little bit of, man, we can read a book, we can sit, we can watch what we want to watch, So we're preparing ourselves, and maybe we're just trying to make ourselves feel better. I don't know. But we're preparing ourselves, and I think that that's a good thing, that we're excited about that. We went for a walk tonight, and it was just us and the dog. And so those are good things.
And again, I feel like God prepares you for each of those seasons, because when we had littles, it was fun to think about, but it was also exceedingly sad to think about being an empty nester.
And when people would say, oh, it goes by in the blink, it does. It goes by in the blink of an eye. But at the same time, if your marriage, if you're doing the right things and preparing the right way, then you start getting a little bit excited about it.
That's right.
Okay, let's see. I'll say, because I said something good. Where were we? Who's
I was a fear, and you.
Well, let me say a fear.
Okay.
Let me say a fear, because I think that there's also this fear of the things that we're excited about that they don't pan out right. Like, for instance, we'll have aging parents at some point. So, there's going to be a time where we're going to be taking care of them. More than likely. So there's people out there that they'll say, well, we never even got to really enjoy the empty nest phase because, a mom or a dad or somebody had to come and live with them, or we just were spending our time taking care of them. And then, like I said, there's also this, you think you're sending your kid off, and then your kid comes back and ends up living at home because they can't find any, can't find a job, or they aren't married or whatever. And so, it's just sort of this.
We know people that maybe their older children had a child out of wedlock, and all of a sudden they're, quote, grandparents, but they're having to act as parents again. Yeah. I mean, there's all sorts of things that when you think towards this is what it's going to be like, that it might not look that way.
And I guess that's why I was saying just the scary part is there are things that we're excited about, but at the same time, you're sort of holding your breath because you're like, is it really going to work out that way?
Sure.
And even like financially, I mean, if you're not, as we get closer to retirement, we've had, you stayed home for 10 years. We've talked about this, to amongst ourselves, obviously, but we don't know what retirement's going to look like because we just don't have a lot of that, prepared. And,
and with, a teacher and a minister, the funds are not just overflowing anyway. And so it's just like, what is retirement going to look like, So, and I mean, I think that's probably something that a lot of people.
Sure.
Are we seriously talking about retirement right now?
Hey, we're young.
That's okay. Good. Let's not talk about retirement anymore.
Well, let's see. What about, I think let's do this. Or have you thought of anything else that you like, either something that you're scared about or something that you're excited about?
Go ahead.
Well, if you thought of...
No, I mean, I think that I was going to say a good one was just, and we kind of talked about this already with our time and us getting to determine it, but also just being able to soak up just being together with no distraction. And we haven't had that in a really long time, I mean, 20 years.
Yeah.
Just somebody else being there. And so I don't know, I'm just excited about, we talk a lot about not losing, like not, forgetting who your spouse is, and then you come into empty nester and you're like, I'm sorry, I don't know anything about you anymore. And I don't think that we've done that. But we've been purposeful in not doing that, but I still think that there's things that I can learn about you and know about you and your heart and your passions and things like that. That as much as we've tried, there's other people taking our attention in the house, and it's just going to be nice to just get to know you again. Deeper.
I thought of another one while you were talking through that too, is just that now our children will become more of our friends.
Yeah.
And not that they're going to always be our boys. We're going to always be concerned and worried about them and want to help them and all that kind of stuff. But there will be a shift to where, not that you want to say, not my problem anymore,
That's right.
but there is a little bit of that where it's like, okay, well, now you're making your own decisions and you're on your own payroll and, that kind of, and then they just become friends. And I think there's some of that. I know it will take an adjustment. And I know some people out there are going, oh, that's so hard, but it just takes a little bit of the pressure off of, being the parent that's making all the decisions for
and you get to push them towards their spouse too. Like if they're once they get married, and because I can remember I called my daddy and asked him a question about what he thought we should do about a car early on. And I was like, we could do this, we could do it. What do you think? He said, I think whatever Rusty thinks. And I was like, what? Like I was calling to get my dad's opinion because I had that forever. But you get to say, it's not my decision anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, like if you've talked to your spouse about it and y'all won't, and as a couple, you want our opinion, we'll be happy to give that to you. But I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm not, like, that's not my role anymore.
All right, so let's wrap up these last few minutes with talking through what are some things that we've been doing, and maybe some advice or some suggestions, since we do have one that's gone to college. We got one that's getting close. So we're sort of preparing mentally, spiritually, everything. We're getting ready. So what can we say that we're doing that may be preparing ourselves so that we're not, because I know there's people out there that are going, oh no, there's no way. I don't want it to be just us. We can't do this. But there are some people that, I can't wait.
Right,
so
sure.
you're and we're sort of in between there, because we love our family, but we are doing some things to prepare ourselves. So maybe some advice. What can we give people as they get into the stages where their kids are getting a little bit older? What can they be doing to prepare themselves for this stage?
Yeah. I'll tell you, I really don't feel like I've done this yet with our youngest. I don't think we should yet. I mean, we still have 2 solid years with him in the house. That's our responsibility. But with our oldest, with Luke, I do find myself trying to live more open-handedly with him. I think that's important to do all along from the time they're born. That they're God's child first, and that you're just here to shepherd them, and He's given you responsibility while you have them here. But just living open-handedly and knowing that ultimately they are a child of God, and that He has a plan for them and He has a purpose for them. And so taking a little bit of the pressure off, I think, with the kids. I've heard it said, and I think I may have even said this on this podcast before, that parents tend to take entirely too much of the glory when their children do good, and then they tend to take a lot of the blame when they don't, and just being very purposeful in not doing that, knowing that that we did our very best raising them, and just living open-handedly. And how that affects your marriage is that you're not so focused on them and what they're going to and what they're going to become, because you get to trust God with that. Because you've kind of shaped them and molded them, and then you have to let go and trust God with them. And I think that if you don't do that, then that really hinders your relationship with your spouse, because your focus is not where it needs to be.
I think it's important all through growing up, but especially as your kids start getting a little older too, is that you start trying to do more things together. And, obviously you should be going to church together all the time, but even like serving and things, because when you do have more time, those are the things that you need to start investing in together as you and your spouse. And, we obviously are part of a ministry that I run for my full-time job, and you're as much a part of that as anybody, and people recognize that, and they say how valuable you are to that. And if I was just always doing my thing and you were doing your thing, then it's really hard. Once it's just the two of us, I could see how it'd be really easy for us to kind of grow apart.
Sure.
But even in like hobbies and like we've mentioned before, but just the going for the walks together. And those are some things that I feel like every time we go for a walk, I kind of just get this feeling of, these are things that's going to happen over the next few years when it's just the two of us. And,
maybe getting involved in your spouse's hobby where you couldn't before. Like if your spouse plays golf, normally you're with the kids while the spouse plays golf. But
hunting.
Just not you don't even have to play golf.
Right.
Just drive the cart. Ride in the cart, or go sit in the blind or whatever.
Yeah. And not that you have to do that every time.
No.
You don't have to okay, well, now I'm your hunting buddy. Look, we understand. Right. Guys want to be with their guy friends, and you still want to do that.
Yeah.
But, exactly what you're saying is just you want to find opportunities to be together so that you just don't grow apart as you're empty nesters.
And with that being said, you also have to find things that you enjoy doing.
Sure.
I mean, when you set...
Well, especially because if it's just going to be the two of you, you need time to be
absolutely
to be alone.
Absolutely, to where you can go and do something that you enjoy. Just it has to be a good balance. I would think, that you want to do things together, but then also you've had 20 plus years of having other people around and people you can invest in and all of that. And so it's important to have things that you enjoy doing, and maybe, women's ministry, men's ministry, where you do those things apart as well, where you're still serving, finding time to invest in others and pour into others, but it doesn't have to always be together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. All right, can you think of anything else?
You know what? I have a feeling that either people that are in this stage are going to go, y'all missed this.
I'm sure.
Or when we get there, we're going to be like, oh, we should have talked about this, and this.
We were not ready for that.
That's right. So, I mean, I think it's easy for us to look forward to things that we think are going to be good and things that we think are going to be scary. But reality is we don't know what it's going to look like. And so I think the best thing that you can do as a couple is start praying towards your future and what that's going to look like. And just saying, babe, I'm fearful of this. I'm excited about this. I'm anxious, but I'm also just at complete peace that God has brought us to this season. And looking back and saying we've done well. Now let's see what God has next for us.
Yeah. And even today when we were walking, you started talking just about how, we've done a lot of things wrong, but there's also a lot of things that we've done right. And so, this past Sunday, you were just in a moment in church where you were just able to really praise God for where, our boys and the legacy that's being left behind for them and, what their future holds. And so, every season is so crucial and so important. And to be in this season that we're in where we can look and we can go, all right, we've made plenty of mistakes, but there's also not a lot more we could have. You just have to go, wow, we trust God with what we did, even in our mistakes and the things that we did wrong. Right. There's so much that we did good too. And so now you just look ahead to the next season and you just, same thing, God's been faithful and you believe that he's going to continue to be faithful.
Guys, we've been talking a lot about seasons over the last several weeks and months. And no matter what season that you're in, God's in control. He is in control when you feel alone. He's in control when it's your best day and you're excited. He's in control when you lay your head on the pillow and you are exhausted and you think, did I get anything done today? He's in control of every single one of those seasons, and he's got you in the palm of his hand. And so I just pray rest for you. I pray that you can grab hands and hold tight to your spouse's hand and say, no matter what this next season brings, we're in it together. And that you focus on your marriage, no matter what season you're in. Make time for your marriage so that when the seasons come to an end, you can say that you've spent every season trying to chase after Christ together and to be a good legacy for your children and what a godly marriage looks like.
That'll preach. Nothing else to say. Hey, next week we'll be back with a new topic.
Yes.
And so we're finished with our series on the seasons of marriage. So we'll be coming back with some new topics starting next week, and we'll look forward to seeing you then. So have a great week. We'll see you next week.